I want to make this video because a lot of people in the community do not know what the best LMGs are in Planetside 2. Now, a lot of people get them wrong. I just want to shed some light on the best ones. So we will start out with the Anchor. This is an A tier weapon. People often get this one correct. It is a decent gun. We'll go to the Beetlejuice. This is quite clearly an S tier weapon. I mean, it has the heat mechanic, it's Vanu, so it has no recoil, and no bullet drop is huge. No bullet drop is unbelievably important. The T-32 Bull, it is a C tier weapon. I mean, TR weapons just have more recoil than anyone else, and it's really bad. Same with I would put the Butcher in D tier. It has even more recoil. There's no redeeming qualities of the T9 Butcher whatsoever. Absolute dog shit weapon. Let's go with the Carv S. I think the Carv S has a little less recoil since it has a lower RPM, and you know, you're supposed to hold down left mouse button with TR weapons, and so you want to do that. You want to have as minimal recoil as possible. That's why the Carv S is good. T9 Carv, I'll put it on the same. It's a little better than the Butcher, but not as good as the Carv S. It's sort of in between these two. Here we have another S tier weapon. Now, on NC, a lot of your weapons are super bad, but this one is standout just above all of the rest. I mean, this is amazing. You can see how in its design, it is sort of a standard shape. So your eyes, they're not obstructed by the view of your gun. And it has a super meta damage model of, I think, 650 143. That is a super meta damage model. We'll go to the EM6. This is definitely a B tier weapon. I was talking about the obstruction of your view. This is a very long gun, and it's going to get in the way of a lot of enemies. You know what I mean? Flare is A tier. I would put the Flare on the same tier as the Anchor. It's a 167 damage model, and usually 167 damage models are absolutely garbage in this game. The Anchor is an exception, and this is also an exception, but that's because it's Vanu. It has no recoil, no bullet drop. It's absolutely busted. The Gauss Saw S, probably B tier, I would say. It's not as bad as the Gauss Saw, but it's okay. I mean, it's a very fat gun. You're not going to be getting too much wrong with this. This gun is absolute dog shit, dog garbanzo. The NC6 Gauss Saw, horrific gun. There's way too much recoil. You know, there's a reason they took it away from the default NC LMG. It is just garbage. The bullets do nothing. Sure, you have a big mag size, but you're not going to hit shots because of the recoil. The GD22S is actually A tier. This is another one people get right as well. The GD22S has, surprisingly for NC, no recoil. I mean, there's few exceptions, but this is one. The Godsaw is also D tier. It has the same damage model and just the same garbage recoil as the Gauss Saw. And you get a stupid gimmick of shooting tanks. The Maw, this is obviously S tier. I mean, it's Vanu, it's 167 damage model, and the hipfire is super laser beam. So not only do you have no recoil, no bullet drop, but you have super pinpoint hipfire. Absolutely broken. The MSW, it's C tier, quite obviously. I mean, it has significantly more recoil than the Beetlejuice and the Orion for being sort of the same damage model and the same like meta LMG title. People get this wrong all the time. The MSW is absolute trash. Naginata is actually A tier. Some people get this right. The community is kind of divided on the Naginata. Some people think it's really bad, but the Naginata is actually incredible. NS15, this is B tier. I know a lot of the Euro players like the NS15. I think the NS15 was meta on the Euro servers for a little while. Like, people were obsessed with the 0.75 ADS movement speed. 0.75 ADS movement speed isn't important at all. It's garbage. But the 650 143 damage model, I think it's 650 or 620 143. Either way, you want the least RPM, so that way you can control your recoil the best. The Orion, obviously S tier. I mean, it is a better MSWR in every single way. I mean, you don't need a compensator on the MSWR, and the Orion doesn't have one either. It's Vanu, you know? There's no bullet drop, no recoil. It's just perfect accurate. It's incredible. The Polaris, this is actually A or B tier. I think B tier. You know, the Polaris is a lot better than the Gauss Saw and the God Saw because it has a lot less recoil, and you know all the Vanu perks that I won't go over again. It's pretty obvious what they are. We'll go to the Promise. I think the Promise is C tier. The Promise, it has a gimmick of having no recoil, which is good, but like I was talking about earlier, it is a huge gun. It obstructs your view so you cannot see the enemy. Like that is not that is a tactical disadvantage. You do not want that. The Pulsar LSW is going to go at A tier. With the extended mags, you get 150 rounds, and you also have no recoil. So fucking retarded. You have no recoil. You have no recoil. You have no bullet drop. Fucking stupid. The T16 Rhino, obviously S tier. I mean, it is a really good. It's probably the only good TR LMG. You know, it is big. The barrel can obstruct your view, but not as bad as on NC guns. So you have this meta damage model of 650 143, and you don't have the .75, but that's not important. You don't need that. SVA 88, A tier. I mean, it's the Orion, but a tiny bit worse. But for the tiny bit worse stats of 698 143, you get 75 rounds in the magazine. This is pretty good. The TMG 50, probably D tier. I mean, it has a lot of recoil. I mean, TR weapons already have way too much recoil, and the TMG 50 just adds on to that. It's really not okay. Let's go into the Ursa. This is another just strict S tier weapon. It honestly needs huge nerfs. This needs to be nerfed immediately. It has absolutely zero recoil. It has, I think, 577, 167 damage model. And again, that damage model is usually bad, but you get all the perks of Vanu. You're perfect accurate, no recoil, no bullet drop. I mean, you can shoot people from 800 meters away, and nobody's ever gonna like see you because, you know, you have no bullet drop or anything. Let's go to the Watchman. This is a C tier weapon. I mean, it is a huge gun. It gets in your way. You can't see the enemy. And, you know, it doesn't have recoil. That's kind of its gimmick, is not having any recoil. But that's because your bullets do no damage. I mean, with the overpowered heavy overshield, you're not going to kill heavies ever. The Galilei is probably D tier. I mean, you have to grind you have to grind a directive just to get the Galilei, and all you get is a slightly meta damage model. The XMG 100 is on the same boat, I think. These two, both of these, are actually incredible. The 155 and the 200, they're also guns that do need nerfs. This is just, they're unbelievable guns. There are no words to explain how good these guns are. I hope you guys found this this tier list informative, and I hope, you know, it helps you choose your LMGs, you know? All of these are absolute garbage guns that you never want to get. All of these. I mean, you only want to get these guns, ever. It's all you'll ever need in Planetside. Your KD will be through the roof. I mean, you'll be one of those 2.7 KD sweaty tryhard vets in no time. Thank you.